Hey everyone, this video was inspired by the story that I read about a month or so ago about this guy called Dayanov. I'll leave a link in the low bar so you can go and check it out. Basically, he was this Bulgarian in Tenerife who followed around this British grandmother around the streets before stabbing her 14 times and beheading her. Now, what makes this story interesting enough for me to make a video about is that the Daily Mail has hooked into this idea that he was a fan of the Predator films and of the newest one in particular, and that maybe this was part of the reason why he chose to decapitate this woman. Anytime that there's any sort of video game violent movie controversy, it always pisses me off. So I feel like I have to do a video about it. First off, why is the influenced by a movie type of story always negative? Why do you never hear a story about someone donating their life savings, and I wonder if they were inspired by Brewster's Millions or something? Blaming movies is a great scapegoat for newspapers. It's an easy to understand concept that people can get their head around pretty simply, and it may even seem plausible if you're not actually paying enough attention. For most people, your mind automatically goes there, and that's as I said, for most people that's good enough. They don't want to search for more information and delve deeper because they've already found the answer that they're satisfied with. It's a great way to sell newspapers. Well, not really great, more horrifying. And it does what all these kinds of stories should do. It creates a common enemy that we can all be scared and angry about. And of course, by we, I mean middle-class, white, boiled egg eating, swinger party having Daily Mail sycophants. It's so 90s and noughties though, really, isn't it? I mean, most parents have moved on to the dangers of the internet, but some are still clinging on to violent media like movies and games. Seems a bit antiquated now, really. I bet the same type of people who are convinced violent movies and video games cause violent behaviour are more inclined to blame the victim when it comes to rape cases. It's very simplistic thinking. Someone does something violent and most people's automatic reaction is, oh well, he must have been exposed to violent imagery to do what he did, which to me is the same incorrect line of reasoning which assumes that if someone got raped it's because of something they wore or didn't. It must have been because of something that they did. But instead of blaming the victim here, you're actually taking the blame away from the criminal. The hypocrisy here is that you'll get loads of comments and opinions that these types of crimes don't get harsh enough sentences. Now hold on. The criminals should be in prison for longer, but if it wasn't for whatever film/video game that they were obsessed with, they wouldn't have done this? So the makers of the media bear some responsibility? It doesn't make sense to give harsher sentences to criminals when by blaming something else you're actually diminishing their crime. You should be happy that, by your opinion, criminals are getting shorter sentences because they weren't 100% responsible for their actions. By the way, this is only arguing from their point of view. Now, people will try and show links between games and movies and violence by citing studies that show that showing graphic violence in games to children will increase aggressiveness and other symptoms. Well, fucking duh! That's why games have age ratings now. Certain games are not meant to be played by children. Their minds are still learning about the world and are still trying to take everything they see in. I remember once when I was young watching a part of a film called Child's Play, and it freaked me the fuck out. I could not sleep for a few days. I can't think of anybody who argues for video games in this sense actually wants anybody to play any games that they want. Even children. But no, that is the parents' fault, not the game and movie developers. If you're stupid enough to let your kid play pretty much any game that they want, then you will have to accept that their behaviour may get worse. And yes, the kids could still get their hands on violent media, but then banning it or removing it isn't the answer. More strict regulation in stores, things like this. But we shouldn't spoil the fun for the vast majority of adults who play such games for fun. Yes, for fun. I'm a big fan of first-person shooters. I love Call of Duty. I love Fallout 3, even though has more of an RPG element. And if you look on the back shelf there, most of the majority of films I have an 18 certificate. I like horror movies, There's nothing wrong with that. I like them because they are fun. I like being spooked. I like to push my own boundaries over what I consider scary and what I can stand. And of course, we are going to have to remember that kids will always get their hands on things their parents don't want to. I remember watching my first 18 certificate film when I was 13, and actually it's probably in my top 10 favourite films. The fact of the matter is that there is no concrete way to show causal connections when there are thousands of different influences on our brain and you can't filter out one specific thing and then blame all violence on that. Any study that you can cite, I can cite one back showing that video games have no side effects. Why do these people against violent media always assume there always has to be something gory, something bloody, that will increase violence? It's simplistic thinking. I've had depressive spells for little or no reason, you know. It could be a sentence that winter is coming, and that has set me off before. I could be walking down the stairs, I could be having a shower, and then boom, I feel like shit for the next month or so. I think of my mind like a safe at that point. The cogs are always turning, and sooner or later the cogs are going to sync up, and then the bad times come. I believe it's similar for people with violent tendencies. It doesn't have to be the same emotion to set someone off. There's still a lot we don't know about the brain, and it's unfair to blame certain emotions on a specific genre of media just because it's easy.